I think it's like 5 or 6 zip codes where I do 40% of my business.
You literally invented an industry.
Season 1, I thought I was only going to do like 35 houses, and I ended up doing nearly 250. I literally was putting pumpkins in my Yukon and delivering and designing them myself. This year, 1,034. Last year was 850. The year before was 750. Heather, who's going to buy $1,000 worth of pumpkins?
What does your average customer look like? That's a $10,000 day. The number one question is, what are your margins like? Okay, so first of all, I love the name Porch Pumpkins. It sounds like something I would name a business because it's just the domain's available. And on one hand, it's like, how is that domain available? On the other hand, it's like, because no one's doing this, right? It's like,
right.
It's a great name. What inspired the name?
So what inspired the name is I have been decorating with pumpkins for a long time. So in 2013, when I stayed at home with my oldest son, he was a little 7-month-old, and I went crazy with pumpkins. And actually, that design, if I showed it to you, you would be quite appalled. It's a bunch of orange pumpkins in different sizes. And I used to put them within my landscaping. And what I learned is that if you put pumpkins in landscaping, they will rot faster than if you put them on a porch. So I knew this because I've had years and years of decorating in my own home experience. So I knew that I wanted it to be very clear that we would be putting pumpkins on your porch so they'll last longer. And so I just knew that Porch Pumpkins was concise and it got straight to the point. Yep. And it would allow for also a great logo because I wanted to incorporate my personal door into my logo of Porch Pumpkins.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, obviously, I didn't realize that. I've never seen your door, but
yeah.
You also have the alliteration, 2 P's. It's 3 syllables, easy to spell, nothing weird. Perfect name. I respect a good name.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So this all started with one Instagram post, just kind of offhand. You did your own. Someone loved it. You did it for them. Then you're like, maybe there's something here. Let's see what the universe gives me. Right?
Yes and no. So I had people in when I was in Dallas, when I would do my own home, they always wanted me to do pumpkins for them. But I still had young children at that time, and I was not looking to take on anything more than decorating for my family. The yes part is I knew that once when we moved to Rockwall Heath, my youngest was going off to school 2 or 3 days a week, and I was really wanting to start doing something for myself again. And I've always been like an entrepreneur at heart. My husband and I both are. And so I realized like people have always asked me to do this. And I started getting Christmas light quotes for Rockwall Heath. And I realized, wait, my friends are paying this much for Christmas light installations? Okay, because in Dallas, we had a more narrow house and my Christmas lights were $400. I was getting quotes out here for $1,500, $2,000 for that first year of installation. And so it all just like the XYZ lined up. And I realized like, that's a great price point for someone else's Christmas lights. I mean, I'm not going to pay that, but
yeah,
it made my wheels spin that if someone's paying this for one holiday, I've always loved decorating my own home with pumpkins, and that actually takes care of 2 holidays, both Halloween and Thanksgiving. And that's when I worked on creating the packages. And so with my one post, which you hinted at there, my one post, I did posted it on Instagram, and I started sharing it with my friends saying like, this is the business I'm going to do. If this is something you're interested in, please let me know. When I started, I didn't have any photos except for the photos of my own home. So I offered my friends, 50% off so I could get some photos of porches for my Instagram and then later website, of course. And then I asked them if they thought it was a great idea or something that they thought a friend would enjoy, if they would just share it with them. And so I literally started in like old school ways, social sharing, because I was texting it to my friends and I was offering this, but then also Instagram. And so it did land into a few fun hands that shared on their Instagram platform that at the time, there was someone with like 80,000 followers that shared my business and said, this is genius. I just bought my pumpkins. You should buy yours. And that's when my phone went from dinging to people I knew or I knew once removed to complete strangers buying Porch Pumpkins. So.
Okay. Wow. So, first of all, people don't realize how big Halloween is, like from a revenue perspective, and how much, for whatever cultural reason, it's been growing over the last decade or two. I have this Bucky's business where we resell Bucky's products, and August 3rd, they drop all of their Halloween stuff, and our sales go crazy. And we just go nuts from August 3rd to early November, all because of Halloween. And it's not that much smaller than Christmas for us. And I've read articles about other big box retailers really raking it in from Halloween. And most people don't realize that. They think it's Christmas and then everything else, but Halloween is on
It's
its tail.
huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you walk into Lowe's right now, like they are putting up Christmas decor, but they're Halloween and like blow up things and mummies and all of those things. That section is just as large as Christmas right now because they realize there's a market for it. I personally think it's like two different reasons. One, like almost everyone celebrates like Halloween or fall, right? It's not a religious holiday. Some people would say it's anti-religious, but it's not a religious holiday where you're only getting this segment of people that are celebrating. And so it really opens it up. And then you add that if you have kids, you want to decorate.
Agreed. Now, when you first launched, did you take any inspiration from anyone, like other than like seeing other people decorating their porches on Pinterest? Had you ever heard of or seen another business doing exactly what you were doing when you launched?
No, I had not seen anyone else offering like pumpkin services at their door. I lived across from the Dallas Arboretum when I started like playing with pumpkins in my own yard, and I was super inspired by all of their displays. I mean, they build houses out of pumpkins. They trail every walkway with those big 50
We have a
pound grand
membership.
prize. Okay, so
We've been
I
dozens
mean,
of times. Yeah.
it is stunning. And that's where we would have our play date. My son and all my children, we went there one day a week at least because we lived in East Dallas. We had a smaller yard. And so that place, the kids could run wild. And so, I mean, I got inspiration from that all the time. And then also they'd have this fabulous display each year, which I haven't been in a few years now, but they had like a pumpkin library. So they had different varietals just kind of spread, like stacked up. So you could learn the name of all these, which allowed me to then start adding on to the pumpkins that I wanted to use in my own display because they were teaching me something. When I started creating my pumpkin packages, because I knew from another business I had that I wanted to do packages and something that you could select and that I'm going to point you to. So even if you send me the front of your home, I'm going to veer you into one of these, when I started, I only had 4 packages. I'm going to veer you into one of these 4 packages. Or I'll give you 2 options and you can pick like what price point you want to come in at. But I knew that I wanted to do packages and not custom installs because I used to be a monogrammer. So like this embroidery, which I didn't do this, I outsource these things now, but I used to be a monogrammer and I would spend so much time creating all of these different custom designs for the client to choose. And so that makes my monogram, that dollar amount go down. And so that's the same thing, like my working dollar,
Yeah.
So I knew that I wanted to offer packages and not do custom, which I do offer custom if someone wants to do something different. We absolutely can do that. Just yesterday in Houston, I did no orange pumpkins and we substituted all white pumpkins. So it was just a different muted vibe and it was beautiful. But so we can do things like that make your home feel more custom. But I knew that I wanted packages so I would be more efficient with my time. Once I started doing Porch Pumpkins in 2020, and I was out in University Park and Preston Hollow, I was seeing pumpkins that were obviously not mine. I was seeing them on porches. And so I started paying attention a little bit more. Once I actually started working on the marketing piece, since it kind of blew up. And then, I mean, I knew that I wanted the aesthetics of like all of the photos being on my Instagram and like showing the work. And then my Insta story, I wanted people to know me and like my joyfulness and how happy I am to bring pumpkins to everyone and just kind of a little behind the scenes. I knew like once I got through my first season of Porch Pumpkins, like it really dawned on me, I'm a stay-at-home mom and I get to do this 3 weeks out of the year and I get to make some good money for this time. And if I'm going to grow, because I still like when season 1, I thought I was only going to do like 35 houses and I ended up doing nearly 250. So,
oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, I mean, thankfully I had some friends that like heard about it and they're like, well, I can drive a trailer for you because I literally was putting pumpkins in my Yukon and delivering and designing them myself. And I was doing like 3 to 6 houses during the day while the kids were at school. And then because of my customer service background, I just kept saying yes to people like, yes, I can take that order. Absolutely, I can do that.
Yeah.
And so then my larger packages, I would have my husband pull a trailer when he got off work. And so then I could do like the bigger packages, the package ones. And so that second week when I was like, okay, I can't keep saying yes to all these people if I don't have a few more people working for me. And so we added that on. And so, I had at the end of my season 1, I had 5 people on the payroll and then the 2 volunteers, me and my husband, right? And so, but at the end of the season, like we were just like brainstorming and I'm like, this is just such a great job. Like I would have loved to do this when my kids were young and they were in Mother's Day out Tuesday, Thursday. So I really wanted to make a business model that would be wonderful for stay-at-home moms to be able to say, yeah, I can do that for 3 weeks and here's my availability. And that's what my designers do. I say, these are the 3 weeks we're delivering. Tell me what you're available and I make your schedule.
Yeah.
And so they tell me, like, I have some high school moms that have volleyball games and football games. So they're not available Tuesdays and Thursday nights. I have some moms that need to pick up at 2:30 for carpool. So they only work an AM shift. And so I'm not only marketing my business to the keeper of the home, right, that wants to make her home beautiful, women, right? But I have several male clients too. Thank you. But typically it is the wife that's ordering the pumpkins. So I wanted it to be beautiful and aesthetically pleasing to them. But I also knew that to grow, I was going to need a bigger team. And so I wanted to make my brand like something that people realize, like, these moms are working and they're having so much fun and they're enjoying using their like skill sets of what they do in their own homes, but they're getting a flexible job right now. And I have people that are paying for trips for their fall break. They're using all this money for their Christmas funds. Someone paid for LASIK. Someone, put a whole new fence at their house. And they were so proud to be able to do that with the income they made with Porch Pumpkins. So
if this were Shark Tank and I knew that like this business was run by moms, I'm like, I'm in so fast. Like I've always said, like moms make the best employees. You have to work around their schedule sometimes, but it is worth it. But like, it's a huge net win. Shout out to Katie. Like the best employees I've ever had have been not like former moms, but current moms. They're just rock stars. And you remind me a lot of my wife because she has like a bakery business and she sells real estate and she's all over the place. And she's only content if she's doing a ton of stuff and just saying yes to everyone and doing all these things. So I'm definitely vibing with what you're doing.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and moms, we get things done. We just do. I mean, and not that other people don't, but there's just a plethora of things that every single day that we're having to manage, whether it's the schedules and so it just, when it comes to pumpkins, we get things done, and there was some changes that happened to the schedules this morning and I sent out those texts and they said, got it. Okay, great.
Are you familiar with Parkinson's law? It's just the theory that like time expands or contracts to fill whatever you throw at it. So like basically give a busy person something to do and they'll find a way to do it. Right. So I think moms are so hardworking because they have so much to do. And so all of the unimportant things just fall by the wayside as they should. And so they end up doing the most and they're all the important things. And I just think it's such a good lesson of Parkinson's law. Like you put too much on your plate and you only eat the best stuff. Right. And moms are experts at that.
That's fantastic. I'm so glad you just put that to a specific law and like phrase that is out there already, because I have always said that. I'm not a fan when people are like, oh, I'm busy. I'm like, oh,
you're not busier than me. You're not.
Yeah, me
I promise.
too. I get it, but that's been my other life in the spring when I'm focusing on my volunteer world. But I'm like, yeah, I get that.
So was switching from like saying yes to everything and custom everything to packages, was that the major unlock for you in your business?
So I always had packages from day one. So like my second Instagram post is literally my original packages with my original pricing. It is not the same anymore, but I can't take it down because I just have to keep that like ode to like how I started. Like I started with
But if you're listening right now, don't go look at that. Look at her updated prices, please.
Not the pricing.
Inflation is real.
Inflation is so real. And also, as you know, like as you build a workforce, when I was doing everything myself, I could charge this price because this was my profit margin. But in order to service more clients, I have to pay employees. In order to be able to do 1,000 porches, I have to have 3 warehouse people in Dallas. I have 2 warehouse people in Houston. And so I need to make sure that my margins stay that of a well-ran business. And so, those prices do have to climb for inflation and scale. And so I think my big turning point though, for like really being able to expand, was going from taking every order via my phone, or like phone call or text message or email, to having my website, which we created for year 2. I mean, I literally, year 1, I had a Lily Pulitzer notebook that was so cute, hot pink. I couldn't lose it. I need bright things so I don't misplace them. And I was writing down every order. We would get home from delivering pumpkins at the end of the day. And then my husband would help me like invoice all of these people from 9 to midnight. And then I would create my routes. And so now with our website, I'm able to take pre-orders, see where we're at in the different weeks and the different zip codes, and then know like, okay, like this year I had to turn off week 2, but I was able to keep delivery for week 1 and 3 in Dallas. I was able to keep them open like another 10 to 14 days because they had more holes to fill. So the website allows me to take so much more business. And then realizing like, I have a background in operations and training. When I like out of college, like I worked for a major restaurant group here in Texas. And so I realized like I can grow because I have the skill set and I can teach and train other people to do just what I do. And I know how to manage people because I used to manage like 200 people and now I'm managing 31 people. And so, that's all of those things go into why I'm able to grow this. So
yeah,
it's been really fascinating.
All right. If you are watching this clip right now, you are watching this on YouTube. And if you are a fan of podcasts, please check out my podcast while you're at it, because sometimes I have podcasts that aren't on YouTube and sometimes I have YouTubes that aren't on podcasts. So check out the Kerner Office on any podcast platform, or you can go to tkopod.com. Also, my newsletter, we'll throw that in there. There are no ads. It's weekly. It's different content than my podcast and YouTube. Newsletter.chrisjkerner.com. You'll see the link and we'll see you there. I want to get to the 31 people in a minute, but first, the first year of 2020, 250 orders. What did the next 3 years look like till today? What do you think you'll do this year?
I might have to work backwards. I should have polished that up. But so this year we're actually at 1,034, which I wasn't even going to announce it and say those words out loud until I actually did it, because that feels more celebratory, like when they're done. But it's pretty exciting. And I've had the opportunity to talk to several people now. So I'd be remiss if we didn't say that, right? So this year, 1,034. Last year was 850. The year before was 750. It was 650, 500, 250. So I doubled my second year, but then I didn't double, right? I didn't keep doubling. I would go up by like 20-ish%. That's really helped us be able to continue to do a great job because we're slowly growing those porches. So at this point.
So not just a COVID phenomenon, clearly.
No. And that was interesting too, because that was something that was marketed a little bit my first year. And when different people had reached out to do an interview, they're like, this Dallas mom is bringing a pumpkin patch to your door since you can't go to one because it's COVID, essentially. And it was more than that. It wasn't just so your family could enjoy it. It was like, oh, wait, this is actually something I enjoyed. I like having this decor piece. I didn't do this before, but maybe they didn't do it before because it was dirty. It's a lot of work. It's hot. You have to go to a pumpkin patch and get all these things. And then also, if you're going to arrange them, it's an art to arranging them. Like, yes, anyone can put pumpkins on their porch, but when I'm teaching my designers, like, okay, and this is the porch pumpkin method. This is this is the look we go for. This is how I achieve it. And it's so interesting, again, the moms, the women that have worked as like artists or creatives and whatnot, they like immediately get it. And I could let them leave after 30 minutes and they would be designing like right away. My employees that have not done something creative but really have a passion, they're like, oh, I want to decorate. Like this is enjoyable. I want to do this. I want the income. They might take a little bit longer, like maybe call it 3 hours and like practicing on 5 or 6 porches to understand the method of the stacking. But then once you do it enough, again, moms are amazing. We figure it out. And then ta-da, they're ready to go. And so that part's been pretty interesting too. Like the creatives they kind of get it immediately.
What an unlock. Like that's like the perfect Venn diagram overlap is a mom that has some sort of creative background. Just makes your life so much easier.
100%.
I'm just now realizing this. I don't know why I'm realizing this for the first time, but I've interviewed a lot of people, and I'm not trying to make your head too big, but you literally invented an industry. You were the inventor of this whole industry, and it is an industry. Like this will be a thing forever, in my opinion.
It's wild. My husband and I were talking about this just 2 weeks ago before the season started. There are more and more and more pumpkin decorating businesses popping up, right? Mm-hmm. And my first 2 years, there weren't. We didn't really see anything, but in 2022, there were even 2 porch businesses that started here in DFW. I know them. So like, I know that they saw it. And then I know that the other businesses that have started have seen the influencers that we all follow that have helped my business grow. And people will ask me, well, they're copying you. And I'm like, well, no, I inspired them. It's just like a lawn care company or a Christmas lights guy. I can't physically do all of DFW in Houston. I certainly can't do all of Texas and all of the US. So like, I actually feel honored and thankful that I figured this out, and it is something like that people can duplicate in their own market. And like, look at all these mompreneurs out there, like crushing it. Yeah. And their designs, some of them look similar. Some of them have a different like look and aesthetic, but they're all beautiful. They're all pumpkins. So yeah. I'm so thankful, and I'm proud. I'm proud that I was able to help inspire another like round of mompreneurs. I mean, interior designers, like all of these things. I feel like it used to be more of a stuffy, you went to an office, here's the showroom, and look at all these amazing interior designers that work out of their home office or they're a mobile. And I feel like that boom happened like in the past 10 years in that segment. And so this is like a whole new segment of opportunity for people. So pumpkin farmers, keep growing pumpkins.
Yeah, please. We need them. And the thing is, like, you have proximity bias. Like, you're in the weeds, you see the competitors, but like the average American to this day has no idea this exists. And probably in 10 years, we'll have no idea this exists because
isn't that wild?
We're only like early or late in any industry once you look back on it and it's done. Right. So like e-commerce, for instance, it's been around since the 90s, but in the grand scheme of things, we're still very early. Like only 16% of our dollars are spent online today. Right. So you are like extremely early, and like there's so much room to run here. And it was really interesting with this going viral before our conversation, because I was able to see like what the general public thinks. And you've probably seen and heard all these things, but a lot of things people say are like, who has money for this? And it's like, okay, there's 35 million Texans. She serves 1,000 of them. Like certainly 1,000 Texans have money for this. Like Highland Park has 2,000 homes, and that's one neighborhood in one city.
Yes, right? Indeed. Exactly.
What does your average customer look like? Is it a Highland Park mom with a $5 to $20 million house, or is your average customer in a $700,000, $1.5 million house?
I think it's like 5 or 6 zip codes where I do 40% of my business is Highland Park, Preston Hollow, Buffview, all like that area, just north of downtown between 75 and Tollway. And so, yes, most of those homes are at least $1 million, if not 3, 8, 10, 12. And so that is my average customer. Well, I wouldn't say my average. That's my like number one market segment of customer. I think my average customer is probably in a $650,000 to $800,000 home that they're decorating pumpkins with. And the homes that aren't that much, they are the ones that see the business, love the idea, busy working, and they want to create memories and bring something for their families. And so they're getting that wonderful package 4. And the package 4 is my cash cow. It is the lowest price point. It's $325. You can add design. It is. I sell the most of them. And interestingly enough, I'll say a point. So it's $325. It's $75 for design and $75 if you want us to pick it up at the end of the season. But you have to remember, some of these beautiful homes in University Park that could easily purchase a package 1 that's $1,350 if they wanted to, they're those beautiful homes in Dallas that are the narrow walkway with a single door and maybe 1 or 2 steps.
Perfect.
They don't have room for a package 1.
Yeah.
They have room for a package 4. And if we tried to put a package 1 at their house, that would be a whole other thing. And so I sell the most package 1s. And with the add-on design, a lot of people still want to do it themselves and they just don't want to do the heavy lifting of the pumpkin. So I think it's like 420 package 4s out of the 1,033. So it's not quite half, but it's quite a bit. And so I sell a lot of those. And also, but when it all goes to the business aspect, people are like, oh, which package do you make the most money on? And I was like, well, it's interesting because obviously I make more dollar amount on my package 1 because it's more expensive.
Yeah.
But it also takes up more room on a trailer.
Yeah.
It takes my driver longer to unload it, who I pay hourly. And I pay my designer more because they're there longer for the pumpkin design as well. So it kind of all, I wouldn't say it evens out, but it's interesting how it all averages out for profitability.
The number one question is, what are your margins like? What are you willing to share about that? Think of it this way. If you do end up selling a course or something, this will inspire people to come to you for help. I want those margins, right?
Right. So my margins are really great because I have all of the other background and I am willing to take on an insane amount of work, right? Mm-hmm. So that viral video that you reposted showed me running and sprinting to a house, right? Where I personally designed 21 houses that day. So that means I am not paying a designer for 21 homes. I only paid a designer for like 20 homes that day. I did 50 total, but some of those were DIY. So my margins are great. I also have a really hardworking husband.
That's a $10,000 day.
That's a $10,000 day. Just in the design fee that I earmark for myself. This is kind of funny. So my assistant helps me keep track of everyone's payroll and things like that. And so I always tell her, I'm like, you pay me the most. I get paid $75 per design, right? So just in design fees, I made $1,500 on that one day. But you would think with a team of 31, I could just manage everyone and show up and do Instagram and social media, but I don't. I'm on a route every single day. Today I have 2, so I'm on a mid and a PM where I will do 14 homes. And so anyway, I say all of this to say my margins are really good. I run right at 40 to 45%, depending on the season.
Gross or net?
Okay, this is when you're going to laugh. I'm a brilliant business mind, but I don't know all these words. So
that's okay. So let's say you gross would be $1 million in sales, and then your pumpkins cost $500,000. So that would be 50% gross margins. But net would be after all of your other costs, paying your people. Your true bottom line profit would be net.
My net is 40% profit margin.
My mind's exploding right now.
That's low. That's low. But again, it's because
that's not low by any standard.
Well, no, okay, it's not low, but my season 1, it was a 50% profit margin because my husband and I were doing 90% of the work, and then I was just having a little bit of help, a
lot more work, more profit.
More work. And so, and that's why it's okay, and we've learned how to source the pumpkins, and we know how to be the most efficient, and all of these efficiency pieces are so helpful. So 2 years ago, we were probably a little bit under 40 at maybe more 35% profit margin. And so because we had that big growth of sales and people and employees, and so we had to finesse some things out. And so that's part of why.
Knew it. Yeah.
When I do the course, I will be a plethora of information. And so many people are like, oh, do you have a few minutes? I'd like to pick your brain. And that's
No.
You get this. That's no thank you for the kind message of how I've inspired you. But no, 10 minutes, I don't have time for you to pick my brain. And I worked really hard, and I have a lot of inside information that could save you. I mean, I've worked now, this is 5 seasons, and that's just in the business. The pumpkins alone, the previous 9 years were a whole nother, well, that math doesn't work. My son's only 11. So the previous 6 years and just those pumpkins and learning what I learned there, that's a whole nother, that's one class. And then running the business is another class. And growing and scaling could be another one, you know. And I could talk all day about pumpkins. I love it. I love the business. I love my people. My people are amazing. I could not do this without my team. My team is incredible. And they all like want to make people just as happy as I do. So like you just don't get better than that.
Well, you've instilled that culture. That's a top-down culture from you. You hire people that are like you, right? So then the company is a representation of Heather.
Yes. Yes.
I love that your profits are good because you deserve for them to be good. And I just want to go to all the haters in the comments and be like, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. Like, this is just not a type of business where you should have low margins. It's just not, because it's not something that people have to pay for. Therefore, like, it's a nice to have, right? So you should enjoy
market.
And like, it's hard. Like, people like, oh yeah, I could do that. And it's like, have you ever lifted 30 to 70 pound pumpkins all day long? Like hundreds and thousands of pumpkins all day long for 16 hours straight? Like, be my guest.
Right. Come on. We're not really hiring, but come on, I'll take an extra driver next year. Come check it out.
Do you think that a recession would negatively affect you, or because of the fact that you're growing so much year over year, you might just grow less?
I was concerned about this year, to be fair. Not that we're in a full recession right now, but the average American is not spending money that they used to. They have less money to spend as everything is higher. And I still service some lovely average Americans. And so some of my package 4 clients in my suburbs, I was preparing for those numbers to fall off. And with my growth, my planned growth that I wanted to succeed and hit this year, in July, I took headshots with a 1 and a K because, you know, I have to do that then to celebrate later. And so that was the goal. I think due to the current even status of the economy, I did not sell out as fast as I did last year. So last year I sold out with 850 porches on August 15th or 14th. And this year I quit taking orders on September 7th. So it took 2.5, 3 weeks longer of growth of time to hit that, right? Versus last year, I probably already had 200 people on the wait list a week after I closed. So I do think it's already it's slowing some people down from this more lavish luxury thing to do. And then the other interesting analytic is watching people's package fluctuations, because the way my website captures my data is that I can see what they ordered this year versus last year. And I really thought that a lot of people would package down this year. And so for my sales wouldn't be quite as high because, you know, I'd still have so many porches. My averages stayed about the same, but it's been kind of a flip-flop. A lot of people did package down, but just as many people packaged up. So I thought that it would affect me. So do I think moving forward in a year or two, if we are in a recession, I think it'll go back to very similarly. I will have to change my business style and model, which I like to sell out on August 15th. That gives me 5 weeks of planning before my season starts. This year, I had to do things differently in order to hit my goal. I would even go as far to say I had to do things the way I don't like to do them to hit my goal. And I had to stretch my own self and comfort zone. And so I did that because there's so much that goes on the back end that is not Instagram worthy. You can't make a reel out of it. It's me looking at Excel spreadsheets all day, right? Yeah. So I think that's interesting. I do think that it would taper. I think the growth would taper down. I think I would stay consistent during a recession because I'm still going to have that top 5% of people and income earners.
They're less affected by a recession.
They're less affected, you know? Yeah. And so with it being more of a luxury business, I mean, sure, Neiman Marcus's sales go down slightly in a recession, and, you know, I likely would as well. So
yeah. 2 things. I want to just go on the record and say, in the viral reel that I made about you, you had never told or posted about having 1,000 orders. All I knew was that you did 900 last year from an entrepreneur.com article. And I just knew, I know she's going to break 1,000. So I'm going to put it out there because she probably already has. And so now I found out that I'm right. I didn't lie. Yes. That's number 1. Number 2 is I think especially you should not worry about a recession. You specifically, because A, you invented the industry. B, you have an Instagram following where you can teach people how to do this. And in a recession, the middle-class moms are going to be looking around thinking, how can I make extra money to pay for Christmas? Maybe I can decorate some porches. Maybe I could go to Heather and buy her course, right? Like, I think a recession could really help your course sales. And because of the fact that most of your customers are higher end, 1,000 homes in Dallas, you could sell 5,000 of these in Frisco alone, right? Like if you would really saturated the market. So that's incredible. Well, I know your time is very valuable and you literally have pumpkins to deliver today. It's October 1st. So it's a big day.
We're so excited.
Any parting words you'd like to leave with people? I'm also curious about like what chips you have on your shoulder. Like what drives you? What kind of haters drive you? Or comment, or I love talking about people that just have a chip on their shoulder. They don't really think about it actively, but it's there.
I love this. I have 2 chips on my shoulders. One, for any entrepreneur that's out there starting, this is just for anyone. Don't listen to the naysayers. If you have a great idea and you want to price something somewhere that someone else doesn't agree with,
people never pay for that. People never pay for that.
They just don't understand. Yeah. You know, I can't tell you how many people were like, Heather, who's going to buy $1,000 worth of pumpkins? Who's going to buy $750 worth of pumpkins? I was like, I don't know. But I think there's a market for it because I just found out that these 3 Christmas light guys are trying to quote me $1,200, $1,400, and $1,600 for my house. So someone's paying that much money for Christmas lights. Someone's going to pay this much money for pumpkins. Someone would pay that much money for X, Y, Z, whatever your business. So don't cut yourself short because you're afraid to price what your business is. So that's my one like chip, because you will. And there are like, you know, I actually have like a really positive following, and most of people on my personal Instagram are like here for it and they're excited and they like to see the pumpkins. It's when they kind of get the reshare. That's sometimes when you get the haters, if you will.
And it goes to a broader audience.
But, and that's fine. I get it. This is not for everyone. And also not everyone lives in DFW and understands like our city. Like our city is not often affected by a lot of recessions. Our city is very wealthy, you know, overall. So I understand that. My second chip on my shoulder as a business owner, I love, like I said earlier, like I love that people have been inspired by this business model and it is popping up. I've seen different ones. Some places I've even had people like, I've had the kindest women reach out to me, send me a photo of their logo with their website and just saying like, I just wanted to share that I found you, you know, a year ago, 2 years ago, and I was just in awe. And I'm just so thankful for this business. And look, this is what I've created. And I just wanted you to see it. And I love when people share that with, like, I literally have goosebumps right now. Like,
same.
I love that, right? Like, that is so cool that this has all happened this way. But what I do have a large chip on my shoulder on is when, like, we went through all of the right channels to, like, trademark and copyright, like, my logo. And that covers, like, all of my intellectual property, which are my photos. Like, my photos are my intellectual property. And so when people are like, oh, this is a great idea. Here, let me screenshot these and act like they're my work, you know, and they'll post them on their Instagram or their website.
Oh, no.
That part, that is like a dagger in the heart. You know, of course, we move forward with a nice little legal letter. And I've actually had to get a lawyer involved a few times just because one, it is my intellectual property 100%. And you are lying if you're trying to use that photo saying that this is what you're offering, you know. But 2, like I worked so hard my first year. I discounted things to get those, and other people can too. There's like ways to go about it. So that would be my business owner chip on my shoulder. And I don't think about it often until some sweet person in Columbus, Ohio, who's been following me since 2020 and we're like Porch Pumpkins family, sends me a website saying, I found this and it hurts my heart that someone's stealing your things. And so, I mean, that's how I find out. I'm not out actively looking for it.
Right.
My Porch Pumpkins family is like extremely like loving and protective of what they know I have created. And so I think that's pretty amazing too. I'm like so thankful. And I feel so loved. I feel so loved. So
That's
Anyway,
amazing. Well,
that would be
most
those.
entrepreneurs don't realize that a large portion of their success is driven by those people that are ripping off your images and talking crap. Like, so in a way, we got to be grateful for them, right? Because we wouldn't be as driven without them. But I always say, only listen to the haters when they know more about your industry than you, which is almost never the case, right? So if you had talked to a mentor, like I did the Porch Pumpkin business, and honestly, the price point is very sensitive. Once you get above $500, it's like, okay, that's valid. No,
Yeah.
you invented this, right? People will pay for it. And the vast majority of business owners are much more likely to underprice themselves. And it comes from fear, it comes from insecurity. Like, oh, I don't want to. And that is a mistake. Like, that is a mistake. Raise your prices.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that's so fascinating that you said that too. I have a cousin that's a hairstylist, right? And she works for herself. She said something years ago when her books get full, right? When she's 100% booked all the time, she goes up on her prices because that will clear out the bottom tier. 85 to 90% of people will continue on, and it opens up 10% of her books for people to pay the higher tier. And that's fascinating too. And that's what made that conversation probably 7 years ago. She's had her business for like 15 now. That conversation, when I realized that as I was scaling and I was needing to hire more people, I did need to go up on my prices because I needed to be able to
Supply
pay
and
for
demand.
them. It's supply and demand. And it gave me, that conversation gave me the confidence to do it. And so that's why if you do go back to my very second post on Instagram and you see a package 4 used to be $250, it's now $325. And that's because price of pumpkins went up and labor, et cetera, is a part of that dollar amount now. So
that's amazing. Yeah. Well, we don't have time for any of this, but I'm going to give you some homework. I want you to look into Comfy UI. It's this new AI software that will enable your customers to upload a picture of their porch, and then AI will automatically show them what's possible with it, right? This like wasn't possible 6 months ago. So
Comfy AI. Wow.
UI, Comfy UI.
Oh, UI.
UI, yeah. So look into that. And then I'm sure you're already thinking about Christmas. Like, I've got another revenue line for Christmas. Are you already kind of thinking that way?
So the thing about me is I absolutely love Christmas, but I reserve Christmas for my family. I do 6 Christmas trees in our home. Our house is the like epitome
You're
of
that
Christmas.
mom, huh?
I am. And I love Christmas. And so where I've had people, again, since I started, please come decorate my tree. One of my Christmas trees takes me 6 hours to decorate, right? And so I know that like the Christmas proper like being a decorator is not where I'm going to go, but I am working on something for the holiday season that is kind of a similar business model of pumpkins being dropped off. I'm actually working on partnering with someone.
Oh, awesome. That's smart.
They have a great product already, and it's something that North Texans especially use in the holiday season. And so I'm working on partnering with him to offer something
very
great
smart
for Christmas season. So yeah, I'm excited about that.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to be more frazzled than you already are for Christmas.
No. And I do need a season of rest because then, I quit. My last day of pumpkin delivery in theory is October 11th. We might have a few trickle downs October 12th, just if there's some delivery snafus. And so then like I go on a solid pause, but then on November 1st, we offer pickup. And so a lot of people that have already had their pumpkins sitting on their porch for 5 weeks, that November air hits and they're ready to decorate for Christmas. So they're like, Heather, can you come pick up my pumpkins? And so we actually start routing to pick up pumpkins, and we do that all the way from November 1st. And typically I say that we pick up our pumpkins by December 1st, but this year Thanksgiving falls the latest it ever does, which is November 28th. So I'm going to need a few more days than 3 days to pick up all the pumpkins. Yeah. But by December 3rd, I would say we'll have all the pumpkins picked up and then punctuated. I'm done. So even like with my business, if I wanted to do a proper Christmas something, I mean, I would have to have things really in place ahead of time because my season goes until the last set of pumpkins are picked up.
That's interesting.
Which is the 1st of December.
You would have no break. Yeah, you would go crazy.
No.
What percentage of your customers opt for a pickup in November?
I didn't run the numbers this year yet, but my best guess is about 65 to 70% of my client base.
Yeah. And can you do anything with those pumpkins other than throw them away?
Yeah, so wait, the customer or me?
You, like
Oh
once
yeah.
you pick them up.
Yeah, so when we pick them up, we pick them up in dump trailers, like big, huge dump trailers, and we drop them off at a local farm. And they use the pumpkins to feed their, I don't remember the type of pig it is, but it's a pig that's raised for slaughter for bacon. And then
Okay.
it's actually a charity farm. So then they use that revenue to help pay employees, and it's incredible.
Amazing.
And then the hay, well, our hay is actually straw, but the straw they use for their chicken coops and their goats and things like that. And so all of the things that we pick up are it's not necessarily I mean, they're going to feed farm animals and things like that. So we're so proud of that. And we're so thankful for that partnership as well.
That's awesome. Well, Heather, thank you for your time. Where can people find you? Like, what should I link to?
You can find me on my Instagram. I do have a TikTok, but I'm not going to lie, I hadn't checked it until I went viral with you.
You should.
So I know. I'm going to be better at that. But Instagram's where to find me. You can email me at heather@porchpumpkins.com. I've had a lot of business inquiries. We will get to those. And the beginning of January is when I'll turn Porch Pumpkins off off figuratively. December 3rd or so, I will enjoy the holiday season with my family. And then we'll get going on all the business inquiries in January. So heather@porchpumpkins.com, and then Instagram, follow along and be a part of the Porch Pumpkins family.
Okay. Well, did I overhype it? I don't think so. Please share it with someone that could find this interesting, helpful, or useful. I want to empower entrepreneurs. So you sharing this will help me empower entrepreneurs, and it'll help you empower entrepreneurs too. We'll see you next time on the Kerner Office.